Around 400 years ago, when William Shakespeare was writing his sonnets with a quill, Tang Xianzu was recording verses with a brush. Tang Xianzu, a great Chinese playwright of the Ming Dynasty, and William Shakespeare were contemporaries, and they both died in 1616. Dr. Paul Edmondson is the head of research for the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust. Now, let's hear his view about these two literature giants' connection and China-UK bilateral cultural exchanges.
Of course, they were very different playwrights. It was really interesting to notice the common ground. They didn't know each other. Some of the kinds of things that Tang Xianzu was writing about were also Shakespeare's concerns. So I happen to know that Tang's play Peony Pavilion is similar in some ways to Romeo and Juliet.
A statue commemorating William Shakespeare and Tang Xianzu was installed at Shakespeare's birthplace garden in 2017. 2 years later, a 6-meter-tall pavilion, inspired by the Peony Pavilion, was unveiled at the first garden, just 10 minutes walk from Shakespeare's birthplace.
I see it quite often. It's in a lovely part of Stratford. It's a place where I often see people sitting, and it's a gathering point. It makes Stratford visibly an international place. We've had performances of scenes of Tang Xianzu's work a few years ago now, when we had a very special statue installed here in the garden of Shakespeare's birthplace of William Shakespeare and Tang Xianzu. We had performances then of some of the Peony Pavilion. And it was very exciting, very thrilling to hear the Chinese language and to see how Tang Xianzu was being performed. They are a very stable cultural legacy, aren't they? And people passing through Shakespeare's birthplace and the garden might well be surprised to see such a statue and then start to ask questions about it. And then that starts to become a really interesting cultural exchange and reflection, a point of reflection. We have several different Chinese translations of Shakespeare in our library. I'm pointing like this because it's underground in special storerooms where we keep most of our collection. When I was in Shanghai, I remember going to see a Chinese opera version of Richard III, which was absolutely astonishing. And there was quite a well-known Shakespeare scholar sitting behind me, and at the end of the show we were all captivated. He just sat back and said, "That is the best Richard III I've ever seen." It was very, very memorable, very powerful. And I say that by way of illustration of how China continues to connect with Shakespeare and how we continue to try to connect with the Chinese connections with Shakespeare.